Morning, Vic. Morning, G. No, no, Vic. I really want to be as systematized and robotic as possible. That's a great question, but where you're asked, do you change your strategy around trimming at all heading into a weekend, especially in this current news-driven environment? The reality is I don't ever really know what the news is going to be. So just trying to cut off my best positions because right, like me just reducing more Netflix, or if someone was cutting more hood, that's not something you want to do because you don't know what the news is going to be, right? You just want to follow your ascending moving averages, right? You start choking off your trades. Remember that the best stocks show relative strength even in a weak environment. Yeah, I don't ever want to just choke off trades just because. Yeah, Dave, I noticed SEZL yesterday. I noticed SEZL. Obviously, Oddity's been a good one lately. The one that has my attention today is TMDX because it just gapped over its 200, right? Had a nice little stage one, just kind of a rally before earnings, a gap up on earnings, and then, put in this little 109, basically 110 high yesterday. Market dependent, we'll see kind of how the market's acting, but this TMDX has me interested. Probably one of my favorite companies. I used to own them way back here, right in here, or right in here, and gone. Yeah, this was a nice one, and I kind of want back in it. And then the other one I used to own that I'd like back in is Toast. 37 was the level I had drawn out, and obviously I didn't buy it before earnings. And then yesterday, gaps, and now we're almost at 40. So yeah, Toast is the other one that's got me interested. Yeah, TEM, nice strength. Yeah, very good. Yeah, you know what I really liked about TEM was that the fact that it gapped down on earnings and then got bought right back up. Right. Normally, when you see a stock go like this, and then if it just stays heavy, that's an egg. But this did some tennis ball action, and then the very next day, tried to sell off in the morning and made a higher low and got bought right back up. So, the whole tennis ball versus egg thing. Focus on your tennis balls, let your eggs go, and this thing is acting pretty damn good. It's still in this kind of a wild range, but really nice volume coming in last 2 days. Now Snow TTAM. Let's see. Now, yeah, it's got to get rolling here. Just this now it's got to stay above the 200. Looks all right. Needs to tighten. I don't really see the best setup here to get long, but looks fine. Nice that it's back above the 200. Snow looks good too. This thing, when you zoom way out on Snow, though, right, it's got to get going. Over 190 ideally. Been looking at that one for a long while. It just never goes. TTAN. This thing's got to have earnings soon, right? $6.5 next month. Plenty of time. Yeah, this X all right. Recent IPO. It's not bad. Almost has a higher low setup. Over 120 probably would be where I would consider this thing. But not terrible. I don't even know what they do. Morning, James. Morning, Ada. Morning, Ravel. Lyft doesn't interest me. No. I don't need to own both of them. Right? Not to mention, like, this 200, it was still downtrending. And today is the first day in a while, that this thing's back above the 200. So you have to ask yourself, Lyft or Uber? Where, nice uptrend, long consolidation, been above the 200, got bought right back up for earnings. I mean, Uber's effectively near all-time highs. Lyft is nowhere close to it. Right? I mean, nowhere close to its all-time highs. Look at this weekly. Ugh. What the hell is this? Right? So you have to say to yourself, what the hell is that? Marco, best tips for getting yourself out of a drawdown? You're not going to like my answer. You're not going to like my answer. But the answer is stop digging. If you're in a drawdown, it's because of a few reasons. Could be, potentially. So you don't have to say yes or no, but you'll know if I'm right here or wrong. You're either you're day trading out there, and you're not swing trading. So one, you're position sizing too big in your positions. So you're taking a lot of paper cut losses, stopping yourself out. You're not focused on the leading groups. So you don't own Palantir, Hood, Uber, Netflix, Zscaler, CrowdStrike, Oddity, MSTR. Like, you don't own them, right? You've traded them, but you don't own them. And you, like I said, you're likely oversizing, and you're jumping from one trade to the next. And then what's happening is as you're drawing down, you're trading a little bit bigger size to get some of that money back. If any of that resonates with you, then you have a few things you have to change. So if you're in a big drawdown, I always tell myself, like, I haven't had a 15% drawdown off highs in over 2 years. So if you have a big drawdown off highs, it's because you're trading too much size. You're not letting the market pull you in. You're maybe style drifting from one thing to the next. You're running from one stock to the next with too much size, instead of, having a firm stop loss level, instead of, focusing on buying something and timing it with the right market, having a daily setup that you understand, having a setup that you understand, sizing properly. Those are all things you have to do. Yeah, Rocket Lab and Toast look similar. Yeah. They're not in the same group, though. Not at all. But yeah, I mean, everything kind of sold off with the market. I like Toast as a business. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you. Would I still enter TMDX being so far from the 50? Yes, I would. This is a earnings gap setup. I mean, obviously a little bit extended, but this is what the best ones do, and then they run away from you. But yeah, you just have to be careful with that, right? Just be careful with how much size you take, and then you can look at like a high volume close for your next entry on it, and then you can look for something like a high type flag for your next entry after that. So you don't have to own all your TMBX at once, but look at what recently like Oddity has done. ODD. Yeah, look at what Oddity did. Right, where it's like this thing has this massive gap up, and it's like if you're buying the high volume close, you're buying this thing when it's 30% above the 50-day, and then all of a sudden just keeps grinding. Looks great. Would I rather trade net or TMDX on the earnings gap up, and why? Great question. Well, net is in a good group, right? Cybersecurity. And they're both fine. Here's the thing. You could try, why not both? That's the thing. Are you going to put 100% of your money into just one of them? Right? What I would say, if you have an earnings gap up in Toast, Net, TMDX, some of these things have been rewarded really, really awesome. Like look at Dave, look at SEZL, look at Oddity. So what I would say is maybe both. Just understand your setup, whether it's a 5-minute opening range break, a 620 setup at some point after a little dip. So just know kind of how you want to enter it, and then buy it. But like if I were to just say, yeah, gun to head, you only had one. That's not in a bad group. It's in cybersecurity. I like the TMDX story personally a little bit more. I love TMDX. They do organ transplants. I like the fundamentals on TMDX a little bit more. Right? Net, I think, is still pretty damn expensive. TMDX is a sub $5 billion company, and they crushed it out of the park with their earnings and sales. Net is a $43 billion company. So a little bit more room for upside, in my opinion, on TMDX. Right? One's a $40 billion company. Again, software tends to grow a little bit more. There's normally a bigger premium on software, but the story on TMDX is awesome. Organ transplants, man. And they fly them to you. I don't know that we hear of cooler stories. That's exactly what you should be doing, Marco. You were in a drawdown earlier this year, and I was struggling with letting trades play out. Sizing down and being more picky helped. With sizing down, it's not even that you have to size down too hard. Like a 10% portfolio position on a daily setup that you understand. But then, when you see, like, let it work, like trim a little bit into strength, let it work on an ascending moving average. That's why they're ascending. And then you just look for the next setup. You just look for another chart that's got another nice setup where you can manage risk from catch an explosive move, and then let it work from there. EOSE high volume close setup. Let's see. Yeah, it would have to get going over 667. This was also technically a double top short sale. So just, it's got some work to do. Oh, Pref, no, man. 51.30 was my spot. I stopped myself out like a true professional the day before. Bottom ticked it. Nobody's that good. And then I didn't buy the gap up, dude. Total scrub. Would I look at ALK? Yeah, let me look at ALK. Yeah. These airline, I saw Boeing yesterday. It's starting to act better. I mean, ALK is fine. I mean, I don't necessarily love this setup, but to me, there are more fun names out there than airlines. Like, there's more than enough. Like, look at the tweet I just posted yesterday, and there's plenty of merchandise on there for you to sift through. That didn't include Alaska Airline. Like, Tesla could do a 200-day moving average undercut and rally. Would you rather own Tesla or would you rather own Alaska Airline? Yeah, exactly. So Net's going to move a little bit slower than TMDX. Looking at PSIX, gap around earnings. Let's look. Yeah, but it's just too thin. It trades less than $10 million a day. Yeah, Toast had good earnings and sales. Love Toast. Great business, in my opinion. Yeah, Doug. Not picking on you in any kind of way. Just so you know, it's just too thin, right? Any Tom, Dick, or Harry can come in and knock this thing down with like 500,000 shares. It's just too thin. You don't want to be in stocks this thin. They might trend really nicely, but look at how nasty this thing gets on the way down quickly. All right. Imagine a stock that was just $30 and then less than 10 days later, it's down 50%. Jeez. You know what I mean? Yeah, Lyft. No, I'm all right. Lyft, no good. Lyft or Uber? That's what you have to ask yourself. Lyft or Uber? Reality is Uber. Uber. Pins? No. Hell no. I don't even got to zoom out to know a hell no. Where's the momentum in this thing? This thing's like at the same price it was a year, like literally more than a year ago. 17 months ago. Oh no. 14 months ago. What's my stop loss on Uber? Well, my entry was 75 and I'm already trimmed. So I'm literally just holding the ascending moving averages. The 20-day SMA to answer it properly. This yellow line here. All right, just let it work. Let it work, because when it takes out an all-time high, I want to add. Don't know when that'll happen, but it'll eventually happen, I think. Could be wrong. Might never happen. But for now, just trail. All right, it's like we bought some, we trimmed some into strength on, I don't know, let's figure out when the hell we even bought and sold this thing. I bought this thing as it was going back through the 50, so on 424. Let me look. Bought on 424 at 75.32, trimmed some at 39 5 days later, and then 8 days later on the 7th, I trimmed some more at 81.47. And now I'm just holding the last of my position, just letting it work. Yeah, I mean, it could drop below the 10, but then, it's got some wiggle room. Everything's in an uptrend. The 200's in an uptrend. The 50's in an uptrend. The 20, right? I mean, this thing might ebb and flow, might bounce around. It might get choppy, but if the market continues to go higher, Uber feels like one of those leading stocks, right? Palantir feels like one of those leading stocks. Hood feels like one of those leading stocks. Netflix feels like a leading stock, right? MSTR is doing some pretty interesting stuff. Toast maybe, Oddity. I mean, there are a bunch of names that are acting well recently. SEZL, Dave. We don't really know what sticks and what doesn't, but, focus on the things that are going up and know your daily entries and take your entries based on that. I love Tesla. I've been watching Tesla now for weeks. I won't buy it until it goes above the 200. So, I mean, but you get this nice little downtrend line break. Right? And then it breaks that little earnings high. 259 was where I put it on the watch list in the room. And then so 259, 260, rallied right into the 200. And what has it done these last couple weeks? Nothing. It's just gone completely sideways. Nothing wrong, right? This is like your athlete stopping to get some Gatorade after a move up, right? That's what you want your chart to do. Stop, grab some Gatorade, power up, and then if you can get through the 200, you just then use the 200 day as your guide. When it gets up above 292.80s, you're in there. And then if it can't hold above 292.80s, you get out of there. That's the nice part about buying a stock as it's going through its moving average. Just use that as your guide. Yeah, Tesla. Yeah, Carvana's been another one of those that's been acting really well. Again, is it a double top short sale? I'm not sure, but it definitely did hit its double top right here. Right, it basically tapped it, bing, and then, maybe rolling over. I don't know. But it's holding in there really, really well. The fact that it's at highs while the market isn't, it's pretty telling. Isn't net more of a double top short sale? I mean, I don't think so. Just looks like a nice earnings gap up. But who knows? It's only known in hindsight, right? You're just trying to manage risk. If you believe something's a double top short sale and then you go to short it, what's your entry for the short? How many shares did you take on that short? And that's it, right? That's the only real thing you can think about. And then manage risk in real time, right? And then it's only known in hindsight when you peel some profits and then it's just working for you on a trailing descending moving average. How do I approach add-on buys? What are some of my considerations? So the way I look at an add-on buy for me is if I never owned the stock before, would this be a setup on the daily that I would buy it in general, right? Is this a setup that I would own in general? If the answer is no, then I wouldn't buy it in the first place, right? Like if I didn't own it, would this setup get me to buy, right? But if I own it, right, I treat that new position as if I didn't have one at all. My stop is still at low of day. I'm managing risk to that low of day. I'm letting my shares from way earlier work. My lot assignment is last in, first out. So things that I definitely think about. Yeah, I like Toast. Yeah, we talked about Toast. Over 37 looked really good. I almost took some in after hours yesterday, but I just didn't pull the trigger. No, I always use low day to stop, unless, of course, it was like a tight daily chart prior to, and then I'm using prior day low. It just depends what stock I'm trading and how tight it is, what the consolidation is that it was coming out of. Right? If it's like an earnings gap up and like you're getting quite a bit of an earnings gap up, I'm not using prior day low because then that would be like the most insane stop ever. But if it's like coming out of like a little flat base, then I'm just using maybe sometimes even prior day low. It just depends, how fast the stock moves. If the stock's a super fast mover, then um, sizing plays a determining factor of where you place your stop. Right? If you size up too big, then your loss could be too much. Yeah, today's the day for Tesla. I hope so. I hope so. Obviously, going into a weekend makes it a little bit interesting, but I do think it looks good. Yeah, LOAR. Yeah, LOAR is in a good group. Aerospace and defense, like this DRS. I had this thing on watch in the Discord at 3770s, right over this flat base, and nice move out on earnings. KTOS has been on the radar, but obviously not acting as well since earnings. We'll see if this thing just continues to build out here. Ugly down day doesn't really do too much, right? It's just still above all its ascending moving averages. MRCY was the other one. Yeah, Rocket Lab looks pretty good. Um, is AVGO a good buy considering the SMH is? I like AVGO. I think they look like the semi leader to me. But I talked about this yesterday. I kind of prefer SOXL just because then you're not like necessarily picking one individual stock. You're picking the whole group to kind of get its act together. So you're picking like NVIDIA, AMD, AVGO, MU, all of them to start acting a little bit better. Morning snacks. Vic, no, you're going too far back, in my opinion. Right? 7 months ago, it's doubtful that those people are even holding it. And then number two, it's back above its 200. Right? Try to not worry too much about it unless it's like recent memory, right? Unless it's like a recent, here's the thing. If I were to worry about TMDX like that, then how come CRDO went way higher after this nastiness? Right? This thing went from 19 all the way down to 8. And then what happened? Right? It built a little base down there and it got back up above the 200. And before you knew it was right back up at 19. Right? And then guess what? Consolidated above the 200. Above the 200. Think about that more. Would I consider Axon a leader? I mean, they've been in an uptrend, yeah. But yesterday could have been bought. Yesterday could have been bought. Yesterday looks like it would have been the entry. But this thing still got these highs to deal with, so let them come get those highs, and then looks good though. No, it's not a bad time to ask. What kind of market prep do I do on the weekends? Identifying leadership, rotation, journaling, past trades, etc. Yeah, so I've been journaling my trades a lot more recently. It's not something I was usually doing, but just to kind of share it with students, right? Share like what my entries were and, where I exited, took some profit, a bunch of other little details about them. But really what I like to do is I just scan, right? I scan all my scanners, right? I scan my 70% scanner. I scan my 3-month relative strength scanner, my 6-month relative strength scanner, my 30-day relative strength scanner, a scanner that I built that just helps me identify charts that are tight, not really above or below any particular moving average, a 90-90-90 scanner where I'm looking at like composite rating and relative strength and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking at those scanners, just kind of literally looking at everything with no kind of regard for what I'm looking at. I'm just, I can quickly identify when looking at a chart if it looks good or not within like 10 seconds. So yeah, I'm looking at scanners all the time. And I just really want to identify what are the leading groups in the market, what are the weakest groups in the market. That's like the number one goal for me. So what are the leaders? What are the laggards? What are the best groups? What are the worst groups? And just take it from there. So first, like knowing what are the leading groups, and then what are good, clean technical setups, and then, what looks viable. Is there a particular group that's standing out the most? And then, that's pretty much it. Just taking it one day at a time once the market opens, doing my homework the night before. Like I know what stocks I want to focus on Monday, on Sunday, and then I know what stocks I want to focus on for Tuesday on Monday night. No, this isn't a good entry to buy Palantir. One, it's a pretty extended day yesterday, so you're just coming in and buying it after a 7%, 8% up day, and still it's underneath its all-time high. So you're either going to wait until it takes out its all-time high, or you're just going to sit here patiently and let it tighten up a little bit more. Right? If you wanted the name, you had to have bought it yesterday over prior day high, in my opinion. You're going to come in and buy it after a 7% up day. How do you limit risk there? Just low of day? I mean, you can do that, but you bought TTD before earnings? I definitely don't condone buying stocks ever before earnings. That's a pure gamble. So it worked for you this time, but how do you know you didn't get caught in another gap down like last quarter? Ask yourself that question. It's just a pure gamble. It might have worked this time, but stuff like that's building bad habits that will get you caught in the future, and you're not going to like the results, I promise. No, all those scans aren't in TOS. Some are in FinViz, some are in Deep View, some are in TOS. Yeah, buying stocks before earnings is a crapshoot. No, it's too thin, man. I mean, looks nice, right? Move up, big move sideways, move up, more consolidation, move up. Yeah, you know where else I like my odds? Betting on horse racing, playing blackjack, playing Texas Hold'em. Those are all casino games, right? I like those odds too. Just about as good of odds as hoping for a TTD gap up. Yeah, I talked about this one, Evan. I like TMDX. I like TMDX. I like Toast. I like Rocket Lab potentially. Yeah, the earnings gap ups are good. Earnings gap ups are good. No, you're good, dude. You're good. I mean, I don't expect you to show up at 7:30 in the morning, although maybe I do. I'm just kidding. All good to ask. It's like, no, Evan, you don't get to ask questions. You weren't here at 7:30 in the morning. But yeah, TMDX, I mean, stocks that are gapping up like this, their earnings were awesome. I mean, they crushed it out the park. Now, I don't know how this thing's going to react for the rest of the day, right? I don't know if this thing closes at 120. I don't know what it's going to do. But Their earnings were fantastic. They're gapping up quite a bit right now, almost 20 points. I mean, that's just kind of showing you how other people felt about that earnings reaction. Yeah, coin's kind of lagging though. Coin's kind of lagging. I mean, it could eventually get going, but damn, I don't know what the hell more it's going to take. What more is it going to take for coin to finally get moving? I mean, Bitcoin's damn near at an all-time high. Yeah, that's exactly right. Or it might even be the clean spark of crypto names. I mean, I don't mind coin. I don't hate them, but they're below the 200. Right? They're literally below the 200. There's nothing special here. Like, how is this special when Bitcoin's effectively way up here? Right? While Bitcoin was coming down, coin's not been doing nothing, and Bitcoin's been ramping right back up. I mean, I'm over here looking at this thing like, man, what a dog. Yeah, Hood's eating its cake and lunch and all the other goodies. Hood's doing it much better from Hood. Much better. Night and day. Night and day. I'm not saying coin can't catch up, but do you want to be in the catch up trade or do you want to find yourself in the leader? Right? So yeah, MSTR is acting better. I just don't like Michael Saylor's face. So I can't buy it. That guy's just pisses me off. Him and his damn infinite money glitch. I think I'm just too jealous of a human to buy MSTR. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to own MSTR because he sells it so much. Why do I want to buy the thing he sells? Right? If I'm going to buy the thing, I'm going to buy what he's buying, right? He's literally willing to sell his kidneys and his lungs and his children so that he can get more money so that he can buy Bitcoin. So, you would think, Benjamin, that it's a Ponzi scheme, but it's a Ponzi scheme that Howard Lutnick's on too. If you guys have yet, go ahead and look at. I talked about this in the Discord, but what's Howard Lutnick's? Let me look this up really quick. So yeah, go and look up Cantor Fitzgerald. I won't do this for you guys, but look at Cantor Fitzgerald's holdings, right? And then all of a sudden you're going to say, what the hell is this? What is going on here? Right? They're basically a fund that's just got a bunch of MSTR, and they're the ones who are helping MSTR raise a bunch of money, so they can buy more Bitcoin. So they're doing that. I mean, it's just kind of it's insanity what's going on with how much Cantor Fitzgerald owns of MSTR for a fund, and then how much Bitcoin does Howard Lutnick own, and then his hedge fund is over here helping MSTR raise more capital so that they can buy more Bitcoin. I mean, it's just doesn't sit right with me. It feels like conflict of interest. He owns a bunch of Bitcoin. His fund owns a bunch of MSTR. They're helping MSTR dilute shareholders so they can buy more Bitcoin. I mean, this doesn't sit right with me as much as Trump coin didn't sit right with me. So I'm just keeping it real. Yeah, he's on CEP. Yeah, but if look at Cantor Fitzgerald and their holdings, right? They're mostly MSTR. I mean, it's just kind of disgusting. But whatever, doesn't matter. Well, yeah, that's the only good thing. Yeah, well, coin's not XYZ. I mean, I don't know that coin would want to brag about that. Imagine the CEO doing their conference call and be like, well, at least we're not Square. All right, guys, I'm getting ready to get the other stream started. Thank you guys for being here. Please have a really safe weekend. We will see you again on Monday, 7:30 Central Time. Is it 7:30? Yeah, 8:30 Eastern. So if you guys have any questions, you guys can always reach out on X or in the room. Appreciate you guys. And once again, thank you guys for being here. Much love.